Hey guys, how are we doing today? Okay guys, let me just be real. It is beach night, but I really need the actual beach night. I don't know about you guys, but I am so tired of weather. I just need the sun and 80 degrees and I don't know about you guys, but I just need something that's not rain. How close are y'all to spring break? 2 weeks? 3? I hear 2 and 3. Either ways, y'all are close, right? Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I am ready to catch up on sleep because I am so off of it right now. But speaking of school, I wanted to open up with a story about myself. So, currently right now, I'm going to Point University. It's a college. I'm online. So, I want to be a youth pastor so I can steal Tucker's job. Not really, just kidding. But, I want to be a youth pastor, so I'm going to a Bible college and getting all that, but that's not where I always was. At one point, I was at West Georgia, college down the road, and I was getting a degree in English education. I was going to be a teacher, and it just kind of happened. In fact, I didn't really want to be a teacher, and the writing was the only thing I enjoyed remotely in school, so that's why I was there. But the thing was, I was trying to force myself into a situation that I didn't want to be, right? I was trying to become something that I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be an English teacher. I love you guys, but 2 times a week is fine. I could deal with y'all the rest of the week. Just kidding. That was a joke. You're supposed to laugh. It's fine. Anyways, I was trying to force my identity into being a teacher, but that didn't work. I was miserable. I hated school. Every single weekday was miserable. And more than just normal, I hate school miserable, it was I don't want to do this, and it started affecting my grades. But that's because my identity was not in what I was forcing it to be. I was trying to be someone else. And the reality is we all do that in different ways. So we're going to jump into some fun numbers and research for you guys. Did you know that some independent studies, some things like that, say that students, kids your age, spend about 9 hours a day on the internet? That's a lot. Now, assuming that y'all are responsible young children and you get 8 hours of sleep a night, right? We do get 8 hours of sleep a night, right? Most of y'all know. Okay, that's fine. But assuming that you get that 8 hours, that leaves 16 hours in the day, you're spending half your time on the internet, whether it's at school, on your phones, whatever. You spend a majority of your time on the internet, and it adds up. And I want to preface this message, because you heard Isabel talk about it. We're talking about social media. First off, I know a lot of y'all aren't the age of social media, so if you don't have it, that's fine. If you do have it, I don't know. But it's still something that y'all are going to have to deal with at some point or another. So I don't want you to tune me out just because you don't have social media or just because you're not the age or whatever. This is still important to you. And second, I'm not here to say social media is evil, right? I'm not here to come up here and be like, you're going to die and go to hell if you are on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Snapchat, I'm on all of those. I'm not here to yell and berate you guys about that. But I do want to bring up some issues that we have. Because here's the thing. Whether we like to admit it or not, we're kind of enslaved. Right? I want to go into this a little bit. Did you know that video games actually have psychologists develop them? They develop the music and the scenery and all the details about video games to make you as engaged as possible, to keep you as focused as possible. So that nice little soundtrack you hear when you're playing Legend of Zelda is actually designed by psychologists to make you focus on the game so that you play it longer. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, it's engineered to trigger the pleasure centers in your brain. You hear that those Instagram noises or whatever it is, those actually trigger the centers in your brain that send hormones or whatever it is to draw you into it. You get those likes, you get whatever it is, it draws you into that. So there's a sinister side to social media. And that's what happens to us, is we become enslaved to that sinister side, that side where they're engineering it. Instagram's catching on, right? They're like, oh shoot, They figured out, let's take out the like buttons, right? Like y'all know about that. They're trying to take out the like buttons, whatever it is, but they're trying to reel you in again and again and again. And just like me trying to change my identity at school, that's what social media is doing to us. We begin to compare. We're measuring ourselves. We're measuring likes and followers and all of that. And here's the thing. I think you guys get that. You understand that. You've heard the talk from your parents or your teachers or whatever, like, don't define yourself by your follower count, or just because you get a few likes, it doesn't mean you're not valuable or whatever. Like, you have heard that. You've had that drilled into your head. So, like, we get that. Like, social media is bad. So what do we do about it, right? Why when we spend 3 hours on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, do we feel worse than when we started? Because we know that happens. You're like, wow, that was terrible. Like, I don't know why that happened, but we still do it. I'll go ahead and give you the answer. It's because that's become our identity. So what do I mean by that? We're going to jump into God's word and see what he has to say. So I'm going to be talking about this dude named Gideon. He's not a well-known dude. Not many people talk about him. But basically, he was around during the time of Israel, right? They were in the promised land. They had started a kingdom. But here's the thing. God had brought them out of Egypt. Remember, there were slaves in Egypt. God brought them out, and he said, hey, I'm going to take you into this new land, and there's going to be people, and they're going to worship other gods. Just worship me. We'll be all clear. Don't worship the other gods. And if you know anything about Israel, you know that they did the exact opposite. They went into this new land and they started worshiping the gods of the people who lived there before. And eventually God gave them up to those people. He said, if you want to worship their God, then I'll let them come in. And so these people named the Midianites came in to Israel and basically just wiped it out, dude. They would take food, they would destroy cities, run people out of towns. And so that's where we're at. The people are like, God, why have you left us? What's happening? These people are here. And so God sends a prophet and says, I told you. I brought you out of Egypt and I said, don't worship other idols. And you did. And so that's where we're at. We're going to read about Gideon. He's literally in a cave, in a hole, trying to get some food. That's how bad the situation is. So we're going to jump in. It's Judges 6, verse 12, when it says, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. So like I said, we're introduced to Gideon. If you don't know who he is, that's okay. Nobody else does either. He just kind of appears. And so we're like, oh, Gideon, okay, let's go. And so continuing on, Gideon says, pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied. But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hands of Midian. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hands. Am I not sending you? Pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied. But how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I'm the least in my family. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. So let me just preface this by saying, if an angel ever comes to you, don't start off by going, excuse me? Like, that's a side note for all of you guys to help you out in life if that ever happens. But if we focus on how the angel addressed Gideon, he literally just says like, hey, what's up, mighty warrior? Like, he's like, greetings, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And Gideon goes, pardon me? Like, excuse me? If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? So God sends this angel, and Gideon basically responds. He's like, hello, God. Like, excuse me. Why aren't you saving us? Like, do your God magic thing and make us feel all better. Like, what you doing? And he totally ignores the angel. The angel comes in, and he's like, dude, the Lord is right here with you, mighty warrior. Gideon's like, where? Like, I'm right here. There's an angel right there. And the angel, he's an angel, so he just keeps rolling with it. And he says, go in the strength that you have and save Israel out of Midian's hands. Am I not sending you? So God sends this angel to Gideon, and Gideon goes, dude, where are you, God? And then the angel goes, I'm right here. I'm going to send you to save Israel. And then Gideon, in all of his might, says, pardon me, Lord, but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest, and I am the weakest in my family. Hey, God, can you help me? Yeah, sure, I'll use you. No, I wasn't talking about me. I'm kind of weak. Like, that's what Gideon's saying. He says, God, we need help. And so God's like, okay, I'll help you. And he's like, whoa, not that way. I wasn't talking about that. Like, you can help using somebody else. But that's what he did, and that's crazy. And the angel answers again, and he says, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Like, this is a buck wild interaction here. If you look through the Bible, most people's response to an angel is, ah! Like, they just flip out, like they freak out. Some pass out. Some literally just freeze up, and they're like, oh my gosh. And Gideon goes, excuse me? Like, he just like has no care that this angel comes up. And then he's arguing. But do you know why? Because he's so beat down. They've been in this situation for 7 years. They've spent 7 years, year in and year out, being invaded and conquered by an army that is not theirs. His identity is lost. His identity is no longer a child of God. His identity is no longer an Israelite under God's rule. His identity is defeat. He is insignificant and he's insecure. His identity is lost. And we look at what Gideon is saying to this angel and being like, psh, I'd never do that. But the reality is, that's us. Ooh. Yeah, I said that. That's us. God's calling us. He's not calling us to conquer an army or save a nation, but maybe he's calling you to talk to that friend who you know needs the gospel. Maybe he's calling you to stand up for what you know is right. But we don't, because we're like Gideon. We have lost our identity. We are trading it in and out, day in and out, for something that does not last. Looking back at verse 12, it says, the angel gives Gideon his identity. He literally says, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. That's the first thing. God didn't accidentally send that angel. That wasn't an accident. He was like, oh, that was the wrong Gideon. I meant the big, strong Gideon. No, he sent it to the Gideon who was the weakest man he could find. And he says, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And he's saying that to each and every one of you too. He's not skipping over you. He's saying, I am with you. You are a mighty warrior. And we're sitting here like, I think you got the wrong guy. Right? We're not sure because our identity isn't where it should be. Our feelings of inadequacy, of not measuring up, of constant comparison, of low self-esteem, they all arise from something that is sucking that out. And that's when we're going to start talking about social media. Because social media is sucking our identity away from us. And just like Gideon, when God calls us, we say, I can't pull likes like she does. I can't get my hair just right in those pictures. I can't get the cool little sun thing where it's right in the corner of their eye and it's super cool. I can't do that. Or like, I can't play like they do. I don't get the highlight clips like they do. I don't have a six-pack like they do. Whatever it is, we feel like we can't, right? Our identity is turned from something that we are not called to be. And the moment we start comparing ourselves is the moment we've surrendered our identity. The moment we say, I'm not like her, or I'm not like him, or I'm not like them, the moment we do that, we surrender our identity. We're saying, like Gideon said, I'm the weakest dude. I'm in the weakest clan. I'm in the weakest family. And I'm the weakest dude in my family. Like, he's just like, dude, I'm worthless. But what does God say to Gideon? He He says, I will be with you. See, God isn't looking for somebody who pulls the most likes. God isn't looking for somebody who has the most followers. He isn't looking for somebody who has the perfect image. Because here's the thing about social media. Here's the lie that we buy into. Is social media is just a glimpse. It's just a square, right? It's just a tiny portion. Excuse me. But if you think about it, a picture is an instant, a moment in time. This morning, I woke up nice and early. Not really. But I woke up and I got out of bed, took me a shower. I strolled out. I made me some turkey bacon because turkey bacon is better. No red meat, baby. Okay, I scrambled me some eggs. I made me up some toast. I got some Trader Joe's organic coffee. And guess what I put in that coffee? Yeah, you guessed it, oat milk, okay? I am environmentally friendly, okay? And I put that up, and I had it nice on my plate, and I had my coffee with the perfect amount of cream in it. And I could have taken a picture of that, been like, yeah, check this out. I'm living life this morning. I am ready. I'm going. But if you took this picture and then did a 360 panorama around my room, you'd be like, oh my goodness, what is that? What is growing in the corner over there? How does he have so much stuff? You can ask Bryce, he will attest my room is a disaster right now. Not only that, I was running 5 minutes late to where I was supposed to be. I'm like chugging the coffee down and trying to eat the eggs while like also trying to have quiet time and like read the scriptures. I'm like, ah! But if you had seen that picture on Instagram, you wouldn't have known that. You would have seen my nice coffee and my toast and my turkey bacon and been like, dude, he's got his life put together. But that's the lie that we're buying, right? We're buying the moment, the 10-second TikTok or the picture or the video of the vloggers that are just moments of people's lives that are not reality. You're not going to have Instagram perfect hair every day. I'm sorry, ladies. That's just how it goes. And here's the truth. Most of those people with Instagram perfect hair have it for like 3 minutes and then it's everywhere. I know how girl hair works. Dudes, you're not going to have a six-pack forever. You're going to turn 35 and your metabolism is going to slow, okay? Chill out. And for all my gamers in here, you're not going to drop 26 kill wins every single game, okay? So chill out. But do you see the ridiculousness? Up here, guys. Do you see the ridiculousness? Like, we're comparing our lives to these flash moments where in the reality we know there's no way that that could be true. But again and again, we turn to the number of likes and we turn to these people's reality and say, dude, that's not me. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be enough. But here's the good news. That's not our identity. That's not who we are. I'm going to jump in here. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 12. It's verse 9 through 10. And it literally says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insult, in hardship, in persecution, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Dude, this is Paul here. He's saying we can delight in our weakness. How freeing is that? We can delight in the amount of followers we have, because I have like 74 or something. I can delight in, maybe my left nostril is slightly to the left or slightly larger. Whatever it is, whatever your weakness is, maybe you're insecure, maybe you're socially awkward like me. Whatever it is, we can delight in those weaknesses. Paul is saying God's grace is enough for all of it. Our weakness, our insecurities, our flaws, our failures, our strengths in the eyes of God. Do you all want to know what happened to Gideon? This huge army, the Bible describes it as locusts, right? If you ever seen a swarm of locusts, that's what he described the army as. This huge army, God took Gideon, 300 men, and he conquered that army. He used Gideon and those 300 men to show that it wasn't about the power. It wasn't about having a mighty general. It wasn't about having the best army, right? He used some scared dude and a couple hundred men. And he conquered an army because God works best in weakness. He works best when we are low, when we feel like we don't have much to offer. He doesn't need that. He's God. And if we really believe that, if we really believe the gospel and who God and Jesus say they are, then we don't need any of that. Because we have our identity in God, and we see that God can conquer an army with a few hundred men. God can change your situation in a moment. So whatever it is, the insecurities you're fighting, the not measuring up, all of those, God says, surrender that to me. In your weakness, where you don't feel like you're enough, dude, I can use you. He doesn't need someone with 3 million TikTok followers or who gets 65,000 likes on every single one of their Instagram posts. He'll use anyone, right? We can't get caught up in the identity that social media gives us, which is you're never enough. You're never going to have enough followers. You're never going to have enough likers. You're never going to be as pretty as your friends. You're never going to be as cool as these guys, right? That's the identity that social media is giving us. But if we look in the Bible, our identity is God. If we look back in Genesis, when it's talking about creation, he says we're made in his image. So when we compare ourselves to other people, when we compare ourselves to the follower and the liking count, when we compare ourselves to those things, we're saying, God, the identity that you gave me, I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to put that aside because I'm not as good as them. I'm not as cool, I'm not as popular, I'm not as pretty, I don't have the best clothes. We're saying, God, the identity, the way that you formed me isn't enough. We're telling God he's not enough. And if we really believe that, then we know that that's not true. If we believe who God is, then we know he created us with a purpose to be exactly how we are. And so when we let social media and the internet define our identity, we're denying the identity God gave us. So to wrap it up, I just want to reiterate, I'm not here to say social media is the Antichrist, right? I'm not saying you're a filthy sinner if you have Instagram, okay? That's okay to have that. But what I am saying is that we need to reevaluate how we're using this platform. If you look at society today, the mental health crisis, anxiety, depression, inadequacy, low self-esteem that's going on in our culture, you can trace it all back. Social media and the internet, dude. It's crazy the effect that has on people. So we have this cool resource, this tool, where I can see a friend who's halfway across the country, what they're doing. And at that same time, I could talk with someone all the way around the world in an instant. This is an amazing technology. It's not bad. But we're using it in a way that warps our brains and changes our identity. So I'm going to call y'all to something. What do you need to do? Maybe it's a straight up social media detox. Delete it. Take it off your phone. I've done those before. Just a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is that you need to just get that out of your head. To clear the mind. Every time you go to pull out your phone and then you go to Twitter or Instagram and you're like, oh, I don't have those anymore. Maybe just open it up to scripture. Or something like that. Or maybe it's a timer. Set a timer on your phone for social media. Newsflash. If you don't see all of your friends' Instagram posts, it's going to be okay. You'll see them the next day at school. You can talk about that in person. Okay? So maybe set 30 minutes or an hour on social media a day and just limit that. Because I promise once you start clearing up time, you'll realize how free you really are. So I'm going to give you guys 4 points here. And I want you guys to write them down if you have your phones or whatever. I want you guys to apply these in your lives. So the first one is, don't use social media as your main platform of socializing. I feel like that's kind of like a duh, Samuel. I know that. But it's something that we need to practice and we need to do. Social media can eat up our lives. This is something that I personally really struggle with. And it's something that I need y'all's help with as well. Because we'll go have coffee with our friends, right? Or we'll go hang out with our friends at lunch or whatever, and half the time is spent on our phone. Even if we're listening, even if we're engaging in conversations, right now, if I was talking to you guys like this, there wouldn't be the same connection. Because there's a wall, there's a barrier. I promise, when you go with your friends, your mom drops you off at Starbucks or whatever, go in. Do you know that if you hold down the power button long enough, it'll turn off? You can hit power off on that phone. You can put that in your pocket. And I promise in 2 hours, when you turn it on, the world will still be going. You can catch up on those. But for those 2 hours, be intentional with your friends, guys. I promise your relationships will grow. Discipleship in Christ in your conversations will grow when you don't have that. Second, be yourself. I'm going to be blunt here. If you're on social media to be somewhere else, then you shouldn't have social media. Social media is a platform for you to express yourself. So I don't care what you're into. I don't care if you like making knickknacks out of fuzz balls you pull out of your dryer. If it's something you're passionate about, dude, just pursue that. I don't care if it's not cool or people don't do it. Like, if that's what you're passionate about, don't go on Instagram to be an Instagram model and be fabulous if that's not what you're into. If you're going to share yourself, then share yourself honestly. Don't waste your time. Thirdly, be smart. This one's pretty simple for you guys, but I feel like it's a hard one. If you have to think twice about what you're going to post, don't post it, okay? It's just being smart. And for a lot of you guys, if you're following somebody and you wouldn't show your mom the pictures they're posting, you shouldn't be following them either, okay, guys? So maybe today you just have to go on an unfollow binge and unfollow a lot of people. But the things we're putting in our heads from social media is transforming the way we live. So just think about that. And lastly, be positive. Dude, we're called to be a light into the world. If God is really our identity, then that should shine through all aspects of our lives. So be positive. Don't be a bully online, because I know it happens. I've heard some of you guys here talk about it. Talk about a friend's post. Talk badly about somebody because of what they said. Behind their backs, through social media. I see you pulling up screenshots of people's posts and sending them to a group of friends so that you can make fun of them. I see that. We see that. That's not what we're called to be, guys. We're called to be light. So be light, be positive. Share the joy that God has put in your life.